Hey, what's going on, guys? Alex here with TFL Bike, and it's been really cold here in Colorado lately, and I haven't been riding as much as I'd like to, but I have a solution for that right in front of me, and something I really don't have a ton of experience with, so we're gonna be figuring this out together. I have a collection of heated gear laid out on this bike, so in this video we're gonna go through the process of installing some heated gear onto this Triumph Scrambler, and then we'll take it out on the road, give it a test, and use a thermal camera to see if it actually is doing a good job of keeping my body warm. So let's jump right into it. So big thanks to Revzilla for helping us out with this video and providing the gear you see right in front of me. So let's take a look at what I'm actually going to be using in this video. So first off, all this stuff is from Gerbing. We're starting off with this. This is a heated jacket liner, which retails for $250, so definitely not extremely affordable, but I'm hoping that it's worth it in the end and keeps me warm. So main parts of your body that are gonna feel really cold when you're riding in the winter are your core and your hands. So I went with the jacket liner here, and then also this pair of gloves. The gloves here retail for $170, and again, they're from the same brand. They even have some branding on here showing that they're waterproof. So this liner is a long sleeve jacket liner. I know this company makes some different vests and different products to keep you warm, but this is a long sleeve jacket liner. You can see this pad here in the back, which is where the heat's gonna come in. You've also got some of that same padding here on both sides of the chest. And then down here by the zippers, or by the sleeves I should say, there's a little zipper with a plug, and that's gonna be where the heated gloves link up to. So if we take a look at the gloves right here, they've got a little port, and the sleeves just connect to the gloves just like that. So these are made to work together. They're made to be used as a set, and that's exactly what we're gonna be doing. Now, those are not standalone products. You need a couple extra things to make everything work. So first of all is this battery harness. This is a $12 product, and this just is pretty self-explanatory. It's gonna hook up to the battery on your bike and provide everything with power. And then you also need some sort of controller. They make a few different styles of these. They make wireless ones, but we went with this. This is $70, and this will allow us to control the temperature on the jacket and gloves. So all in, we're at about $500 with all these products. So definitely not the cheapest way to stay warm. You know, you could bundle up and use a ton of different layers, probably come in under that $500 mark pretty easily. But I wanna give this heated gear a test. So let's see how it actually mounts up to the bike. All right, so first step of installing this is gonna be getting access to the battery. And on this Triumph, just take the seat off with the key. Then there's a couple of Allen bolts, one right back here, and then two here that I have to remove. Now this whole tray comes out, and that reveals the battery. There's a couple extra wires under here for like a phone charger, and I could disconnect those if I wanted to give myself a little more room, but I have all the working space I need, so I'm just gonna kind of let it sit there and get to work on installing those battery leads. Now this battery lead has an inline fuse right here, and there's not one installed when you pull this product out of the packaging. So if we look at the user manual right here, gives us a convenient little chart, shows everything they make, and tells you how much amp draw there is. So with the jacket, 6.9 amps, with the gloves, 2.2 amps, add that together, we're at 9.1 amps. So then we look at this chart down here, there's a 7.5 amp fuse or a 10 amp fuse. We're gonna go with the 10 amp, which is the red one. They give you a handy bag of all the fuses you might need. So I'm gonna pull the 10 amp fuse out, throw it in its little spot right here, and super handy that they give you that little chart, show you exactly what you need to keep this operating how it should. All right, well that was a super easy install, just 2 screws really and a couple of zip ties, and this is what we ended up with. I decided to put the input for the heated gear right behind this cover so you can tuck it away pretty easily but still get access to it without removing the seat or anything. Then it's got this little cap on here to keep some water out, and that's where you're gonna hook up your controller. Now, I decided to leave the controller off of the bike. If you were riding every day in the winter in the cold, you'd probably want to have this mounted up by your handlebars, but for our use, we're not going to be using this a ton, just once in a while in a pinch when we need to stay warm on the bike. So in our case, we decided to leave this detached from the bike and just run it into a pocket or something. So here's how this works. You just match the red up with the red, so the controller hooks right up to the battery there. You can see it come to life. It'll start flashing with your 2 power settings, left and right, and that's because these 2 cables are labeled. So if you look at the end here, you'll actually have one that's black and one that's white. And then on the inside of the jacket liner, there's a little zip pouch here that has a few different connectors in it. And these are all labeled as well, so it makes it super easy. And basically we've got gloves and jacket labeled on there. So if we just match that up with the black and white ends here on the jacket liner, super easy, you just plug it in. And now we've got heat going into our jacket. So I can use this left controller here. You can go from 1 to 9, 9 being the hottest, or A for an auto setting. And then just like I mentioned earlier, coming out of each of the sleeves, there's another cable, so you just hook the glove up to that, and you're all good to go. Then you've got a separate temperature control for the gloves on the right side. You can control the jacket and the gloves independently. So super easy install, very easy to use. Didn't have to look at the packet that came with the product at all. Self-explanatory, so let's go gear up, get outside, and see if this actually keeps me warm.
All right, so here we go in real time, actually hooking it up to go for a ride. Plug that in there, get these 2 ends, match them up to my jacket here, just like that. Set my temps, we'll go max temp, why not? And then just hook up the gloves. There's one. There's the other. Did that backwards. That's more like it. Oh yeah, they're getting toasty already. All right, and like I said, if you were riding in the cold all the time, you probably want this up by your handlebars, but for me, doing a short ride where I just want to stay warm, I'd much rather keep it in my pocket. That way, you know, the 14 out of 15 times when I'm not using this, I don't need to stare at it up on my handlebar. All right, so I've got the left glove unplugged, got the right one plugged in, staying warm. I'm gonna do a few laps around the block and see if we can see a difference between the 2 gloves, one being powered and one just acting as a standard glove unplugged. Let's do it. All right, so I'm just gonna do a few laps here. It's about 45 degrees today, which is cold, but not terribly cold for a January Colorado day. But the heated gear is definitely keeping me very warm. The gloves are helping, definitely feels good, but the little heat patch that is on my core is pretty game changing. That is definitely my favorite part of this whole setup, is how warm my core is, especially doing a lot of highway riding. If I were taking this bike back home from work, you know, I'd be on the highway doing 70 miles an hour for 15-20 minutes, and you end up getting a lot of cold wind into your chest. And this feels so good. Now, one thing you do have to be a little mindful of is that this is a wired connection, so you have to be careful when you're stepping off the bike, when you're getting on the bike. For example, when I stepped onto this bike pulling out of our garage, I didn't realize, but I snagged that wire a little too hard, and I ended up disconnecting it. So it took me a few minutes into my ride to realize that my heated gear wasn't getting warm because it unplugged. But now that I'm on the bike and I have it plugged in, a little bit of slack here in this wire, no issues whatsoever, but definitely something to be mindful of. Alright, yeah, once I'm moving, I can definitely tell that it's a little cold outside. I've got tons of cold air coming in through my helmet and up by my neck. Definitely feels brisk, but my chest is almost too hot, actually. I have this on the highest setting right now, and it's really warm to the point where on a 45-degree day like today, it's a little too much. I'm sweating already. But good to know that if it gets colder, you know, if it were 20 degrees outside, that highest setting would probably be pretty perfect. So all in all, heated riding gear is definitely going to keep you a lot warmer out on the road, and there's a ton of different kinds of heated riding gear out here. In this video, we showed you a wired solution, which definitely works pretty well and gets very hot. But I've used some standalone products that are battery powered in the past. I have some gloves by First Gear, and I actually have another heated vest by Gerbing, but that one's battery operated. And I can tell you that having a wired connection has its ups and downs. I'm not worried about running out of battery. I don't have to worry about charging these products up. I can just grab them, hook them up to my bike, and go on a cold day with not much thought. And I also think they get a little bit hotter than the battery operated stuff does as well. But then at the same time, you know, you're a little limited in your movement. My mind goes to what would happen with all these wires in a crash, whether they would wrap around your body, things like that. So there's pluses and minuses to both a wired and a wireless system, but this wired system's working very well, keeping me plenty warm, and I'm a fan. All right, so Case is shooting me with the thermal camera now. We're gonna see if there's any difference really. So start with the gloves. Should see a hot glove and a cold glove, although I don't feel too much of a difference. So can you see anything?
Yeah.
What about do you see the temperatures on there?
So the hottest spot shows like 30 to 33.
That's Celsius.
Yep, Celsius. And then the hottest spot on here shows probably about 20.
Okay, so 10-degree difference Celsius. I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit because I'm an American. But yeah, how about the chest area and the back? Because that's where I'm really feeling the heat.
Yeah, I can see a couple spots on your back even through this riding jacket that you have on that are over 20 degrees Celsius. You pull that riding jacket off, I bet we'll see even more.
All right, riding jacket is coming off.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's some spots on here that are almost 40 degrees Celsius.
Yeah.
So yeah,
it definitely feels hot.
yeah,
Smells hot too.
yeah, it's warm.
So there you have it, guys, a little tutorial and a demo on how heated riding gear works on pretty much any motorcycle. This is a universal kit. As long as your bike has a battery, you should be good to go. I was pretty impressed with this system. It is pricey, but if you're looking to stay warm out on your bike, there's not a whole lot of options out there. So I definitely recommend looking into something like this. Huge thanks to Revzilla for helping us out with this video. If you need any heated riding gear of your own, whether that be a wired system or some of those battery operated units I talked about, definitely check out the link down in the description below. Thanks for watching. Head on over to tfl-studios.com so you don't miss any of the stories in the motorcycle world. We'll catch you in the next video.